Welcome, everybody, to the monthly meeting of Pittsburgh Water, April 22nd, 2026. The board met in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss legal and personnel matters. And with that, we will do the roll call.
Ms. Leber?
Here.
Ms. Strasburger?
Here.
Ms. Leach?
Here.
Mr. Domock? Ms. McCormick-Barron?
Here.
Mr. Bay?
Here.
Mr. Fischbach?
Here.
Mr. Irwin?
Here.
Mr. Kunka? Here. We have a quorum.
And I realize I didn't do this. Okay. Figuring out the program here. We do not have anybody scheduled for public comment. Is there anybody here that wants to address the board? All right, so we will ask for an approval of the meeting minutes from March 27th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Ed Barca, Finance Department report.
Morning, board. Happy Friday. Wednesday, yeah. Excuse me. Usually on a Friday. This should be. I do have a PowerPoint for you today. There it is. I don't know, Will, if you want to maybe hit the lights or. Yep, thank you. All right, so before I get into my finance report for today, I did want to give an update on our 2025 financial audit, as that will be presented today to the board for acceptance under resolution number 24. But in addition to that, I also wanted to show just a look back as well, back to 2021. Again, all audited statements just to show the progress of the authority as a whole. This is the only slide that I have, so I'll kind of work through this from starting at the top left and going from there. The first is our operating revenues and expenses from 2021 through 2025 continue to be consistent. And what I mean by that is the increases for both the operating revenues and expenses over that time period are the same, meaning that they both over that 5-year trajectory increased at 32%. Why I feel that's important is it shows that, while we are asking ratepayers for additional funding, we're continuing to utilize that funding in the ways that we say we're going to, whether that's increasing operations, buying new equipment, items like that to really right-size the authority as a whole. The other thing that I want to point out is you may be seeing that delta between operating revenues, which is that lighter bar, versus the operating expenses, which is the darker blue bar there. That will continue to be, you will continue to see that in future years. And the reason that's important, and we'll get to it at the bottom half of the screen there, is, the authority as a whole does need to have a cushion, and a cushion in the sense of being prepared, for a COVID situation, large increases that we're seeing, in gasoline prices as of late, items like that that are unexpected. We need to be able to pivot and be able to pay for those items when they arise. And it also helps with future planning as well. When you have that, that slight access to making sure the authority is on a solid financial footing. So I wanted to point that out. But again, the takeaway there is that, we are doing what we say we're going to do with additional funding we received as displayed there in that first bar. Going to the top right, looking at total assets and total liabilities. I don't want to get too into the weeds here of the numbers. I know I want to keep this higher level. But the main takeaway here that I want to establish is that starting in 2022 and moving forward into 2025, you can see the blue bar there, which represents our assets, starts to outpace our overall liabilities. What that shows is our balance sheet is strengthening, meaning that we're putting more capital assets in the ground without incurring a liability such as debt associated with that. And that's supported by our Penvest grants that we're receiving, to some degree our low interest loans, and then also our distribution system improvement charges that our customers pay on a monthly basis. Again, really just showing that is allowing us to really strengthen our overall balance sheet and, again, put us in a solid position overall to be able to pivot where necessary, but also just to be in a strong footing overall for the authority. Going to the bottom left there, you're going to look at our debt service coverage ratio. This is a legal requirement that we are required to measure and also make sure we meet a minimum threshold. The minimum threshold for senior debt service coverage is 1.25 times, and the total debt service coverage minimum is 1.10 times. So clearly, we're far and exceeding those metrics there. If you look back from 25 all the way to, 21 to 25. And really what this measures is it looks at our operating expenses, operating revenues, subtracts out our operating expenses, and that excess that's left over is then really measured against how much do you have in hand to pay both our senior debt obligations as well as our total debt obligations. Again, it's really just a solvency ratio that our bondholders look at to making sure that we can repay our bond payments. And then the last thing I'll say on this piece is while we have a stable performance overall, most utilities are in that 2 times range. So we'll continue to get there over time, and we're continuing to improve that and stabilize that. But do know that we are a little bit on the weaker end overall. But again, it's something that we're managing, and it's not a negative for the authority. It's just something to note. Next, looking at the middle column there, profit or loss. Maybe rephrase that as surplus or loss. We're not a profit entity, and net position. For our surplus or loss from 2021 through 25 is obviously stable. You can see the figures there, specifically in 2025 with a $55 million surplus for the year. One thing that I'll mention that inflates these numbers a little bit is all of the grant revenue that the authority receives and expends within a particular year shows up here on these profit or loss statements. And the reason that's important to point out is because those grants that we receive can only be used for a specific purpose. So, for example, the $55 million in 2025, we really don't have the ability to take half of that if it's grant funded and use it for something else, but we have to represent it there as such, just given how GAAP accounting rules work. So again, given the large success we've had with Penvest and other entities, that's somewhat artificially inflating those figures. But again, the motive here is not profit driven, but we usually aim to have a little bit of a surplus to making sure, again, we can pivot where necessary. And the net position represented next to that, you could think of that as really the value of the authority. All that is it's a running total of our profit and loss amounts since the inception of the authority is really what that represents. And the higher figure that you see there represents more value for the authority as a whole. And then the last piece that I have on this slide, in the bottom right there, cash and cash equivalents. You could see, from 21 to 2025, the ending balances for our cash balance. Obviously, we continue to improve it in those areas, and 2025 was obviously a really good year for the authority. And then next to that, you can see our days cash on hand. That's represented by the DCOH that you see there on the screen. That DCOH, or days cash on hand, is really a liquidity measure that looks at how much cash you have on hand to fund operating expenses and looking at it from a days perspective. Again, I don't want to get too into the weeds there, but what I'll mention is kind of the takeaway is the higher that number is, the better for our liquidity performance. But similar to our debt service coverage ratio, we're still a little bit under peer utilities. Most utilities are in that 300 to 400 day range. Again, we're stable and improving. You can see there 241 for 2025. And again, we kind of look at our peers as really to make sure we are recovering what we can in a fiscally responsible way, but also making sure we're not having rates be too high just to meet metrics, right? So we're trying to find that balance overall from our financial performance. And that is the last slide I have there. So then I'll transition here to my normal monthly report. So included in your board packet is the finance report through March 31st of 2026. In March specifically, the authority collected $19.9 million. That's about $299,000 lower than the budget. And as I've mentioned in prior months and prior reports, we had a little bit of a slow start from January to February, but we're continuing to see that recovery up through March. And I even have, as of today, even on our April collections, and I'll get to this next month as well, but our April collections through this part of the month is about $2 million higher than what we had budgeted for the month as a whole. So I've been alluding to this month over month. We're starting to see that collection recovery, and we're going to see it in April once I report those figures to get us back on our footing, just given the delays we've seen with mailing and other components back in January and February. Year-end receipts for the year are projected to be $280.6 million. That's roughly right in line with budget. It's slightly lower at $763,000 or 0.3% as compared to budget But again, once we see April come to fruition, we're going to reforecast those numbers and look to update that moving forward. Departmental operating expenditures through March 31st, 2026 total $27.5 million, or 17.3% of the budget for the year. And capital expenditures through that same period totaled $34.8 million. $44.6 million in debt service costs have been paid through the end of March, and that represents about 42.8% of the budget for the year. And forecasted year-end debt service is projected to be $103.4 million, roughly $852,000 lower than the adopted budget for the year. So really right in line with what we're projecting for the budget. With all of that, that concludes my report for today, but I'll turn it back over to the board for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Ed? Okay,
Thank you.
you. Great report. Rachel, Beam Engineering Department report.
Good morning, Chair Leber, members of the board. I have some slides this morning. I'm going to be highlighting progress on the construction of our vertical projects. Last month, Barry presented on 4 of these projects, and I'm going to be doing part 2 today with the remainder of the vertical projects that we have under construction. So our first project I'm going to touch on today is called our hydraulic valve replacement program. Thank you. And so these are the ones I'll be touching on today. Our hydraulic valve replacement program involves replacing 118 existing hydraulic valve actuators with electric motor actuators on the valves that control the operation of our filters and the filter backwash process at our treatment plant. Actuators are mechanical devices that allow these valves to be opened and closed automatically and remotely, which is essential for the continuous and coordinated operation and backwashing of our filters. The project also includes all related mechanical, structural controls and testing. We're also installing safety guardrails around the filters and performing necessary door improvements. Construction is about 20% complete, including an outdoor generator pad, as shown in the photo. The generator is being installed to provide backup power for these new actuators, since they will be electrically powered instead of hydraulically operated. The first round of actuator replacements are scheduled to be completed May 5th through the 11th, which will include 6 actuators on filter 14. Electrical work is ongoing. Some key challenges for this project include sequencing shutdowns for all 18 filters without impacting plant operations. And we're also coordinating with the adjacent filter roof repair project. For example, this generator pad was poured and has been subsequently covered to allow the roof replacement project to begin, since the roof contractor is using this area for material storage and equipment staging. Then the generator will be set upon completion of the roof replacement project. The general contractor for this project is Mealy & Mealy, and the electrical is Lanco Electric. Our raw water intakes clarifier meter replacement project involves replacing our existing raw water meter with a new Venturi meter inside the intake structure vault shown in the photo at our plant. This meter measures the water that we withdraw from the river prior to our treatment process. We are procuring the meter, and our contractor SET will perform the meter and piping installation and vault modifications. This contractor anticipates mobilizing within the next few weeks. And key considerations on this project include coordinating a full plant shutdown to replace that 48-inch meter with only an 8-hour window available to complete the work, and pre-outage planning is underway. This photo shows the exterior of the meter vault, which will require the roof to be replaced to allow the installation of the new and larger Venturi meter that is larger than the existing. Next, our Browns Hill sewage pump station replacement project. This is near the Homestead Grays Bridge, and it includes installing a new combined sewer pump station with new pumps, valves, and appurtenances. There's an underground wet well and vaults and a control building, along with instrumentation, site work including utilities, and upgrading the electrical service. The general contractor, Independent Enterprises, mobilized on March 10th and has since installed bypass pumping, which will provide the necessary temporary sewage conveyance in the absence of a pump station, 4 new manholes, new electric, gas, and other utilities, demolished the existing pump station as shown in this photo, and excavated and shored the location for the new wet well. Key challenge of this project involves maintaining safe traffic and working conditions and crane operations along, as you can see, a busy roadway. Additional complexities include the sewage bypass pump operations, including planning for heavy rain events and sequencing the work within a very tight site. All work impacting Browns Hill Road must be completed before July 10th, before PennDOT shuts down both directions of the Parkway East for the Commercial Street Bridge replacement. Pittsburgh Water and our prime contractors have collaborated to accelerate our project schedule, targeting completion more than 4 months ahead of the bid timeline. Independent Enterprises is a general and plumbing contractor, Franco Electric is electric, and SSM Industries is the HVAC. And shown in this photo, as I mentioned earlier, is the demolition of the old pump station. The photo on the left here shows Duquesne Light installing new electrical service, and on the right, the contractor is installing shoring to prepare to construct the new underground wet well. And both of these photos underscore the tiny footprint of this site and the limited space for equipment operation. Next, we have our security check-in station and entrance gate at the Pittsburgh Water Treatment Plant, which included installing a new precast security building, including foundation and underground conduits. Project also included the installation of an automatic pivot gate, which you can see in the photo, an ornamental swing gate, and relocation of the sodium hypochlorite station. This station is now in operation, and the contractor has been issued substantial completion. Maintaining secure and uninterrupted plant operations during construction required close coordination with security and operations, particularly during closures to our main driveways. And Caliber Contracting is the general contractor for this project. Our water treatment plant filter building roof project involves the replacement of the 65,000 square foot roof for the filter building and operations center at our water treatment plant. We do have plans to add solar panels to the roof after it is replaced, and those plans are underway. The project includes removing existing roof system down to the concrete deck, inspecting those conditions, and replacing drains, flashings, installation, and membrane with a new 2-ply hybrid roof. The contractor, MTG Roofing, mobilized on March 2nd, removed all the ballast and paver walkway, replaced all the drains, and are about 50% complete with installing the base sheet and new curbs, with work shown in the photo. The installation of the new membrane and metal coping and trim will follow shortly. Opportunities during construction of this, similar to the other projects, are coordinating with operations and 5 other construction projects within the same area for safety and parking. That is the end of my slides, and I have 2 other projects to briefly update on. The temporary occupancy of River Avenue, as Will shared in a previous board meeting, move-in of our operations department to this location is complete. We anticipate 2 new overhead doors and structural steel installation to be completed in May, which is the final major piece of that project. We will have additional renovations being undertaken at that location, which are currently out for bid. And finally, on projects, vertical projects, the 84-inch diameter line rehabilitation project, also at our Pittsburgh Water Treatment Plant, involves the full structural rehabilitation of the conduit conveying clarified water from our clarifiers to the filters. Opportunities here include coordinating several plant shutdowns and performing underwater construction to install some slide gates that will enable the carbon fiber lining to be installed. Notice to proceed was issued on March 17th, and submittal and schedule coordination is ongoing. Moving on to an update on our lead service line replacement program. A total of 14,834 public and 11,330 private side lead service lines have been replaced through April 20th. We currently have 9 active construction contracts involving lead service line replacements, which are a combination of small diameter water main replacement, neighborhood, and urgent contract. This work includes verification to identify the material of the service line, the lead service line replacement work itself, water main replacements, and finally restoration of pavement and landscaping. Regarding the Highland Reservoir Pump Station project, The two new pumps feeding our Garfield tank, which is also known as Substation B, were successfully started up last week on April 14th and 15th, and they are currently in operation. Substation A, which are the larger pumps that will feed our Highland 1 super system, are scheduled for startup the week of April 27th. Finally, the following projects are currently out for construction bid. The 2026 neighborhood lead service line replacement contracts A1 and A2. Bids are due today and tomorrow, April 22nd and 23rd respectively. And the Stewart Avenue Stormwater Improvements Project, bids are due tomorrow, April 23rd. This concludes my report. Thank you for your attention, and I'll turn it over for any questions.
Any questions for Rachel?
Thanks, Rachel. I had a question about the Brownsville sewer work that you were doing. You said that you had to pull the project completion date forward by 4 months. Is that right?
Correct.
I mean, that's, I guess, pretty remarkable, like after the contract had been awarded. Maybe two questions on that. Did it result in like significant new costs, change order cost? And then two, what was driving that need to pull it forward?
So the drive, I'll start with the drive to pull it forward. The Commercial Street Bridge replacement is going to impact a very large area surrounding that work, and there are numerous detours that will be in place. So there's a large area where there will not be any work permitted to be performed, so that we're not impacting traffic. So that was the main reason for that. That was coordinated with DOMI, and that schedule was dictated by the city. And as far as being able to accelerate the schedule, one of the main things that allowed us to do that is the contractor was able to identify an alternative building structure. We had specified a certain precast building to house the pumping equipment, the pump station equipment above the wet well. And they were able to identify a structure that could be manufactured and procured much faster than what we had specified, and we did thoroughly review it and determine that it would be an acceptable alternative. So that was one of the main things that helped us move that schedule.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I have two questions, Rachel. The first is the first project, the valve replacement. What's the benefit of switching from hydraulic to electric power?
So the electric actuators do tend to be more reliable is the main reason. And again, those actuators are going to allow us to, which the current actuators do as well, but they are mechanical devices that sit on top of the valves that allow the valves to be opened automatically and remotely.
Great, thanks. And my second question is, are we still going to meet our 2027 deadline for the lead line replacement?
We are still on track for that.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you.
I got a lot of generators, so I'm just curious. And then security threats tend to evolve, so I just wonder what the runtime of the generator, the LPG tankage system combined is.
Mm-hmm. So I will have to get back to you on that propane generator that we're installing. I'll have to check on that for you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Rachel, to you and your team.
Thank you.
Frank Sideri, Chief Operations and Environmental Compliance Officer.
All right, good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to focus my report mainly on the environmental compliance side because today is Earth Day. So happy Earth Day to everybody. So each year, April 22nd, we do observe Earth Day. It's a day that we want to celebrate our achievements and raise awareness around the importance of protecting our planet. The message of Earth Day, I think, closely aligns with Pittsburgh Water's mission, which is to support our region by protecting public health and the environment through the delivery of safe and reliable water services with a commitment to future generations. And we also have a core value of stewardship, which very much aligns with Earth Day itself. A little history here. The environmental movement began in the 1970s with the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency at the federal level. And that then led to the passage of several important regulations, including the Occupational Safety and Health Act, or OSHA, our Clean Air Act, as well as the Clean Water Act. As a drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater utility, much of what we do, of course, is guided by these various laws and regulations that came out of or are part of these important acts, and they help establish then those safeguards to air, land, and water resources. So a couple of things I wanted to reflect on in terms of what we're doing here as examples of environmental stewardship that Pittsburgh Water does take every day to make Earth Day every day for us here. First, we'll focus on air quality. We have a fleet manager. One of the duties that he performs is monitoring, of course, our fleet of vehicles to assure efficient operation, that they're running efficiently, as well as talking about things such as reducing unnecessary vehicle idling where possible. We also have several air quality related permits with the Allegheny County Health Department. These require specific monitoring and routine maintenance of our larger fuel-fired, we have both natural gas and diesel fuel-fired generators and boilers in our system, as well as requirements around fugitive emissions reduction, particularly with our permit associated with the water treatment plant. Turning to energy efficiency, our electricians, our electrical team, they continually work throughout our facilities. They're actually probably pretty much complete with a lot of this, changing things over to LED lighting to help replace some of our incandescent, fluorescent, or our HID bulbs and lamps that are out there, improving energy efficiency, but also light quality and durability of those lighting systems in our buildings. Our engineering department is delivering designs for new water pump stations, including the Highland Reservoir pump station that Rachel just mentioned. And this is updating our pumping capacity. One of the biggest things we do is pump water, which requires a lot of electricity. So as we move from motors and pumps that are from the 1960s to current pumps, the improvements in motor efficiencies, as well as variable frequency drives and other things we can do in those pump stations, helps us to be more efficient in the pumping of water. Our environmental compliance team is also working to install instruments on some of our largest and oldest pumps at our Ross pump station, our Aspinwall and Brecken pump stations, to help monitor and map energy usage on those motors to help identify energy efficiency improvements as we go forward and replace those in the coming years. Hopefully we'll be able to benchmark it and see what kind of savings or changes in energy usage we have. Carbon footprint, Pittsburgh Water continues to participate with the City of Pittsburgh and other local entities as part of a buying consortium that we have to purchase competitively priced renewable energy, which primarily comes from a wind farm over in Ohio. We've also implemented sustainability evaluations as part of our design process for some of our largest capital projects, considering things like sustainable concrete or implementation of solar power in some of these large capital projects that we're working on. And finally, our environmental compliance group recently completed our first greenhouse gas emissions inventory to help benchmark our operations and begin to identify areas for improvements in greenhouse gas reductions that we'll be able to make. On the stormwater management side, I talk to you often about our MS4, our Municipal Separated Sewer System permit. We continue to provide inspections of those separate storm sewers, as well as our MPDS permits to assure compliance with the Clean Water Act regulations. And to help maintain awareness of stormwater, we perform annual training, which we've just completed for all of our staff here at Pittsburgh Water. And we share that training with the City of Pittsburgh so that they can provide that same stormwater training to their staff as well. And finally, we have a green infrastructure team. They, here as the growing season begins, are out and about pretty actively, looking to maintain all of our green infrastructure installations that we've put in across the city. And the final thing I'll touch on is waste management. Our operations team and environmental compliance team often work together to help manage our waste with an emphasis on reducing waste disposal through reuse programs. So we have programs that are for beneficial reuse of chemicals, beneficial reuse of our shop rags, and recycling programs for things like just general recyclables, but also for scrap metal, wooden pallets, and electronic waste that we have out there. And I reported earlier, in 2025, we diverted over 110 tons of waste from landfills through these recycling and reuse programs. So these are just a few examples of the programs that we have that help support our region by protecting public health and the environment, which is not only Pittsburgh Water's mission, as I noted, but also that reason that we celebrate Earth Day today. I'll wrap up briefly on the water quality side. Last month in March, we produced an average of 70.5 million gallons of drinking water per day from our treatment plant. Our water quality during that time continued to be met and exceeded, and we confirmed that through 2,459 laboratory analysis last month of our drinking water. Concludes my report today. If there are questions on operations or environmental compliance, board, staff, or our consultants, I always welcome those questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Frank? Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe just a comment, Frank. During an education session, during committee meeting earlier in the month, you mentioned the reduction in hazardous waste coming out of the lab. I'm not sure if you mentioned that explicitly, but I just wanted to say, like, you know, your discussion here today, it only covers, you know, the highest level of the work that you're doing to try to reduce the environmental impact and on the community and then of the authority itself. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, a little detail on that. And that was also for the safety of our chemists. We had one of our laboratory instruments we used produced a waste called mercuric nitrate. We were able to change to a different laboratory instrument to avoid generating that waste stream as well as exposing our employees to that waste stream. So just something, again, yeah, a change that we look at to make sure that we're looking at safety and waste reduction as we also continue to do our monitoring. So, yeah.
Thanks, Frank.
So, thank you.
Will Pickering, Chief Executive Officer, report.
Good morning, Chair Leber, members of the board and the public. I'll begin by thanking you for your flexibility joining us on a Wednesday. As anyone in greater Pittsburgh knows, you know, perhaps this is the calm before the storm of draft ascending upon us. But, you know, related to that, I do want to call out some of the work that our team has been doing from our emergency management group and field operations crews to make sure that we're coordinating with event planners in the city of Pittsburgh to make sure that the event is as smooth and successful as possible. We'll all keep our fingers crossed that our water and sewer infrastructure remains stable through all of these visitors, but if something were to happen, we are as prepared as we can be. So grateful for our team working to make sure that Pittsburgh's putting its best foot forward. Related to that, I was excited to join leaders, including our own board member, Erica Strasburger, at the ribbon cutting for the Arts Landing Park last week. A fantastic improvement to downtown, and there was a lot of congratulating about the project that happened at the event, an amazing addition to the city. Not shocked that it was not covered were the water and sewer improvements that were necessary to accommodate that park. You know, us having our infrastructure buried beneath the ground were often a footnote, but a very important one. So our development services group, coordinating with the architects, developers, contractors, the city, the trust, to make sure that we were relocating some of our existing water and sewer facilities, think fire hydrants, manholes, things that existed within that footprint to accommodate the park, and then also working really closely with them to ensure that they remained on schedule. It was a very fast project for very important reasons. We wanted to make sure that it was in place before all of the visitors heading our way. But I did want to call that out. I think a really nice job by our team recognizing the importance of that park and doing everything we could to work with them. And I do encourage anyone who hasn't seen it yet, when I believe it's a soft opening style, but when it is available to the public, please do check it out and know that Pittsburgh Water was responsible for a small portion of that. I also, you know, there's a lot of discussion, even just in our reports today, about energy use, generators to ensure resiliency. I was lucky to participate in a discussion in D.C. last week with about a dozen other large utility leaders to talk about data centers. And it is a question that I am often asked by our customers, is what impact will data centers have on Pittsburgh, on our rates, on our system? And obviously, I am learning with many of you, given the rate of this technology and development happening, it's tough to keep pace with. But I do want to share what I did learn, which is, you know, in all likelihood, a data center property is not going to site itself within our service territory. But that does not mean that we won't be impacted by data center, you know, regionally. And the primary, it would not necessarily even be water demand directly from data center development, but the energy use. We often talk about how much energy it requires for us to operate our system. We not only purchase renewables, but as both Rachel and Frank have called out, we're looking at solar panels and other ways to produce clean energy on site. That seems to be the biggest risk that we will all have within a multi-state region, given the intense demand there will be for power. So that is something, I'm going to leave you with that nugget of knowledge that was shared with me, that we will continue as an organization to keep our eye on, that, immediate water demand within our footprint may not be impacted. As data centers get sited regionally, that perhaps could be a concern. But we're going to be very focused on the energy impacts and making the investments now to put ourselves in a more resilient energy posture. Shifting gears, we touched on finance and grants. We had more great news coming out of our relationship with Penvest. We announced nearly $78 million in loans and grants for both water and sewer infrastructure. We talk a lot about our water main replacement and lead service line replacement awards, but I do want to call attention that we had nearly $54 million in multi-year loans to support sewer rehabilitation. And those projects are going to take place. It's over 42 miles of sewer mains across 9 neighborhoods: Hazelwood, Bon Air, Stanton Heights, Overbrook, Chateau, Larimer, Swiss Elm Park, Carrick, and Allegheny West. And that is a critical part of our work. Sewer rehabilitation in most cases involves us using a trenchless technology to line existing sewers, so less disruptive to the public, more efficient, less cost. But we are availing ourselves of those Penvest low-interest loans. We also did get additional loan and grant awards for those small-diameter water main replacement programs, including a $1.64 million grant and a $21.8 million loan. That will help us finance 3 miles of water main replacement. That seems like a lot, and if this work is happening in front of your house, it's certainly disruptive. But to put that in scope, that's about 0.3% of our total drinking water system. And we have a goal to achieve about a 1% replacement rate, and that is a relative industry standard, but given the average age of our water mains, we are still just sort of chipping away at this aging infrastructure problem that we will be trying to address for the foreseeable future. I also wanted to touch on the aggressive nature as a reminder of why we're doing as much work on lead service line replacement and water main replacement now as possible, because we do believe that those grant dollars will no longer be available here in the near future. The grant dollars were provided in the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, also known as the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, not Justice, Jobs Act, IIJA. And we have been the largest recipient in the Commonwealth. Ed alluded to it, but over $130 million in grants we've been able to successfully get into our coffers, which means our ratepayers aren't paying directly for that. So we are in the final years of using those grants because we do not believe they will be available, and that explains why we're doing as much as we can in all of these neighborhoods. Certainly recognize the impact it has on the neighborhoods we're working in. We're continuously striving to be better and working with our contractors and construction management firms to improve our communications with customers who are impacted by the work, but did want to kind of scope that in perspective of our overall goal to replace all of our lead service lines by 2027, that I can double down on Rachel's assessment that we are on track, thanks in part to these grants and in the close collaboration with our finance department, engineering department, and Penvest. That wraps up my remarks for this morning. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions, comments? Thanks, Will. It's very obvious that there is a lot going on to the staff and to the community, but thanks for putting that all in context. It's all important work. All right, we'll move on to the resolutions. First up is Frank Sidari. Sidari.
All right, hello again. So presenting resolution number 23, approving the award of operating contracts for 2026 flagging services to D&L Traffic, Always Safe Flagging and Assist Services. This is for a base year and 4 option years. The cumulative operating budget is not to exceed $1,238,897.35.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? Any discussion? I have a question, Frank. This is a really basic question. How do we determine for which projects the subcontractor provides flagging and when we provide our own flagging?
Sure, yeah. Good question. So this is all for our operations folks, which are out doing either emergency repairs or planned work on our water or sewer system. That decision's usually left up to our foreman or our manager overseeing that job. So it can be a combination of the number of jobs or the location. So generally, we would take advantage of these services where the flagging gets a little more significant. If it's an alley or a small street that we can close, we will do it. But if we're along a busway, a busy road, an intersection, traffic light, those often require a more significant traffic setup in order to comply with the DOT regulations, and they will bring in the flagging services to help support that for a safe work zone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I also wanted to
Oh, go ahead.
make a comment, and I'm sorry about the echoing. I just wanted to comment that we talk a lot about security, and I think about, digital security and all of that. This is a good reminder of the basics. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Thanks, Peg. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, resolution passes. Rachel Romano?
Good morning. Resolution number 24, accepting the 2025 report of the Auditor Marduzel, Certified Public Accountants.
Do we have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? And Scott is abstaining as a new board member who didn't have enough information. So Scott Kunka's abstaining. All right, did we do that? All in favor? Are we good? Okay, we're good. Resolution passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Ed Barca.
Resolution number 25 of 2026, approving the resolution to apply to the Pennsylvania Infrastructure Investment Authority, otherwise known as PennVest, in an amount not to exceed $33,500 for the 2026B lead service line replacement project. Excuse me. A couple things to note here. This is anticipated to be our last PennVest application for lead. Just talked about meeting that 2027 deadline, so we're hopeful for that. And to give you an idea, too, of the number of replacements this project is projected to move forward, it's about 828 public lead service lines and 884 private lead service lines.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Seconded.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I want to thank PennVest for their past support of this project, and gratitude to the staff of Pittsburgh Water and, led by you, and for being so aggressive at going after these grants and loans from PennVest. Were it not for that funding, we probably would have either not met our 2027 obligation and goal, or sacrificed other projects, or potentially even, seen higher rates for ratepayers to meet that goal. So just incredibly impressive and important work. And I realize this is an application for funding, not funding coming in, but we've seen so much success in the past few years with PennVest funding in the form of grants and loans. I really want to thank them and thank you for the aggressive grant seeking here.
Thank you.
I want to second that. The support from the state has been unbelievable, and we all know how competitive this is. Mm-hmm. And so we would not have been able to get as much support from the state if they weren't confident in the organization and the work that we would do. So kudos to the staff and thank you to the state. All right, all in favor?
Question. Would this cover the go-back work?
My understanding, it would cover everything that's remaining, yes.
Well, I mean, the stuff that originally only one half was replaced.
Yes, yep.
Okay. Do we have any idea what that number is?
I'd have to check with our engineering folks on that. I do not know.
It's probably a few thousand.
Yeah, but I'll follow up with you. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? The resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Rachel Beam?
Quick correction, if I may. Earlier, I said that bids for the River Avenue Ops Center were out, the contracts were out for bid. That is not correct. They were actually received a couple weeks ago, so I apologize for any confusion that may have caused. Thank you for understanding. Resolution number 26, approving the award of a capital contract for construction of the 2025 small diameter sewer rehabilitation contract 1 project to Independent Enterprises. Capital budget $3,182,135.
Do we have a motion to approve? Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
And any abstentions? Resolution passes. Thank you.
Resolution 27, approving the award of a capital contract for construction of the 2025 small diameter sewer rehabilitation contract 2 to Independent Enterprises. Capital budget $6,247,130.
Motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Did we hear that? Second from Jamel?
Me, Jordan.
Okay. From Jordan, okay. Any discussion?
Rachel, can you talk a little bit about the difference between number 26 and 27, the two different types of?
Yes, these are differences in location. So these are different neighborhoods. So I believe contract 1 is, Beltsufer, and I think contract 2 is Sheridan. Yes. Contract 1 is Beltsufer. And, apologize, one more page. And contract 2 is Sheridan. Same type of work.
Thanks.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution passes. Rachel, you're still there.
I am. Got a few more. Resolution 28, approving the award of a professional services agreement for construction management and construction inspection services for the 2026 Neighborhood Lead Service Line Replacement Contract A to AECOM Technical Services. Capital budget $3,696,985.98.
Motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Sorry, I have a question. Rachel, question. This is one where below a bidder. When for the solicitation, I'm curious if you could a little bit more about the choice of a contractor.
I think I heard the question. I'm sorry. Could you repeat just to make sure?
Sure. For the question is, this was a circumstance AECOM was not bidder, but ultimately awarded the contract. I was curious but more about the led to that.
So I think the question is, I believe, related to the choice of AECOM for the project. So all of our evaluation processes to identify professional services agreements go through the same rigorous process. We have different categories. We have a team that's assembled for each one. We go through different categories to rate each of the bidders. And from that, following that, there's discussion with the team and our procurement department to come to a decision So AECom has been successfully providing construction management and construction inspection services for our lead program for quite some time. As we know, these are pretty complicated projects, not only due to the nature of the construction, but also the extensive coordination that's required with the homeowners and the residents. And the AECom team has shown quite a bit of success and knowledge of this process. So we feel confident that they will be very successful, as they have been in managing this project. Two projects, I should say. It's 2 contracts. And by the way, these are the 2 construction contracts. These are construction management, construction inspection services for the 2 construction contracts that are currently out for bid. Does that help? Hopefully. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution passes. Rachel, it looks like you're bringing us home, so just keep going.
Thank you. Resolution 29, approving the award of 2 operating contracts for construction of the 2026 urgent sewer repair project to Independent Enterprises and A. Felino Construction, and a professional services agreement operating for construction management and construction inspection services to Whitman, Reckart and Associates. Cumulative operating budget, $6,650,198.29.
Motion to approve? Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution passes.
Resolution 30, approving the award of 2 operating contracts for construction of the 2026 urgent water repair project to Mealy and Mealy & Sons and Independent Enterprises, and a professional services agreement operating for construction management and construction inspection services to Whitman, Reckart and Associates. Cumulative operating budget, $5,843,779.43.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
For this and the one prior, actually, does this represent a change in either of the IDIQ awardees from 2025?
So these are IDIQ contracts, as you mentioned, and we do new ones every year. So our urgent contracts are renewed every year. So this will get us into the new contract. And those ones, they run summer to summer. Some of our others don't, but this particular one runs from summer to summer. And we have continuous, so during the winter, we use them all year long, but especially in the winter, that allows us to not be dealing with contract changeover in the middle of winter when we tend to have a lot of breaks and things.
That makes sense. Yeah, sorry, to clarify the question,
Okay.
it was regarding these particular contractors for each. Are they the same this year as last year? Or
I'm sorry.
Different, yeah.
Independent is currently on our 2025. They are an urgent contractor for both sewer and water. And I believe that Felino is also our urgent water. And I apologize, I don't remember who our second urgent sewer contractor is at the moment.
Okay.
I can check. I'll get back to you on that.
But they're obviously all 3 are pretty known.
Yes, very much, yes. It wouldn't surprise me if Mealy was also one of our current contractors, but yes, these are very experienced in these urgent contracts.
Thanks.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution passes.
Resolution 31, approval to enter into a reimbursement agreement with Brentwood Borough for the Sawmill Run Watershed Improvements Project. This was a cost share project with PennDOT consisting of stream restoration to reduce sediment pollution in the Sawmill Run watershed, and it was completed in 2025. Brentwood Borough desires to participate in a portion of the project and has agreed to provide a lump sum reimbursement to Pittsburgh Water for a little, almost $18,000 in exchange for sediment credit to meet their National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit for their municipal separate storm sewer system, a lot of words. Pittsburgh Water also was reimbursed by Baldwin Borough for this project under a similar arrangement. And these are examples of collaborative efforts among Pittsburgh Water and other communities to reach common goals related to stormwater management.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So I think some people might be curious as to why Pittsburgh Water is doing work and, you know, that affects two different municipalities outside of maybe not the service area, but where one might see a PA American bill in the mail rather than a Pittsburgh Water bill. So can you help maybe members of the public understand how that breakdown occurs here?
Yes, so this would be under our stormwater service area, which we do have beyond our water service area. We require these same types of credits, sediment pollution removal credits, under our own MS4 permit, and PennDOT does as well, as do these municipalities and communities. So we collaborated with PennDOT on this project. We were actually both able to get credit. PennDOT and us were able to get credit. We ended up getting more credit than we needed, and that's why we're able to share in the credits with these other communities. And then we still have actually a surplus of credits left over, if you will. So it works out really for everyone. So it's about service. It's kind of the service area where it's located. And we were able to work with PennDOT. Their service area, their area is bigger than ours, so we were able to help define the location of the project so that we could get the credit.
And I'm familiar with credit systems for other obligations that we might have to meet. I'm not as familiar with the NPDES credits. So in the future, where could we then apply those credits? It's great that you know, we were able to then arrange for a cost-sharing agreement with Brentwood and Baldwin. I guess one question first is, we didn't know that they would be contributing at the outset of this project?
I don't think we knew
Okay.
that we had when we originally arranged the cost share with PennDOT, I don't think we knew at the beginning that Baldwin and Brentwood would become involved later.
Yeah.
Baldwin was first, and now Brentwood.
Good for them, good for us. And then in the future, what kind of arrangement can we see with these credits in hand, in addition to what we already did here?
So our credits are applied, and I'm not the expert in this, but our credits can be used over the 5-year cycle of our NPDES permit. So we actually have enough credits now for the whole 5-year cycle. So, which is helpful. We want to do stormwater projects, but we also need to spend our funds wisely. That could be subject to change depending on if DEP changes their regulations. But we currently have more credits than we need, so we wouldn't necessarily need to do anything further unless, DEP change their regs, or, we come up with some other arrangement that would be beneficial and make sense financially and for our system. And I will make sure that I'm telling you all the right things, but I think that's pretty much correct.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Picking up on Erica's I have a history long of being involved in conversations, that municipalities, authorities should operate. So this is really good progress. And applaud the theory.
Okay, thanks, Peg.
Thank
All
you.
all in
Thanks, Peg.
favor? With somebody else trying to jump on?
That was me, sorry.
Oh, okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, the resolution passes. Our final resolution.
Resolution 32, approving an amendment of a professional services agreement for construction management and construction inspection services to Hill International. Capital budget $246,164.91. This amendment is needed for construction management and construction inspection services for Phase 2 of the BRT project. The project has experienced unexpected delays, and therefore the PRT and their contractor have agreed on a revised completion date of April 2027. As a result, our related work and resulting CMCI work will also extend into 2027, whereas the original contract anticipated completing the majority of the project by spring of 2026.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? Discussion? I have a question, Rachel. There was a 75-25 cost share in Phase 1, if I read this correctly. Is there also a cost share in this new cost, because it's really due to their construction delays?
So what we are calling Phase 2 is the green infrastructure pieces of the overall project, or betterments, if you will, and for those, Pittsburgh Water is paying for those. So there was some cost sharing for the gray infrastructure, if you will, catch basin work that was needed. Phase 2 is particularly for green infrastructure, and we are paying.
And we agreed to
that.
100%?
We agreed to that.
Okay.
And this request is just for the inspection services, not for the physical?
Correct. Correct.
Would there potentially be an additional contract amendment for that, or is that value expected to stay the same?
I believe that
Work.
I will have to check on that. I'll check on that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution passes. Thanks,
you.
Rachel.
Thanks.
I just want to make two comments before we close. One is, I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to host a group of community leaders at the water treatment plant, and Will and Rachel and Frank and the team presented to them the work that we do, the impact it has on the community. And to no one's surprise, they were very engaged, very impressed. Of course, they asked Frank if there was enough water to flush all the toilets. They're going to be flushed during the draft. And so, it was an educational session. But I left thinking, boy, I wish there's some way we could get everybody in Pittsburgh in a room and give them that presentation, because it's so evident what a good job we do and how committed we are. So I want to publicly thank the team and just challenge all of us to continue to look for opportunities like that, because it really makes a difference in terms of how people perceive the significance and the quality of what we do. And then I just want to echo Frank's great Earth Day comments. We moved the meeting today because of the draft, but I think it's appropriate that we have a Pittsburgh Water meeting on Earth Day. And I think everything we heard today just shows how important the mission is to us, clean water and environmental stewardship, and how hard we are working to make sure that we fulfill that mission. So, anything else for the good of the order? All right, meeting's adjourned.